Rob, since we're a little bit early, I could tell you what I was going to message you. When you generate leads from social media, the number one thing you should be thinking is connection, not selling. It's a big mistake that a lot of people make. So I actually use my 6 steps formula when we generate leads from any type of online marketing or paid advertising. So I initiate, hey man, this is Rob Challenger. I'm excited about talking to you. You know, the reason I'm calling you today is because I noticed that you inquired on our link or you saw my social media post. Thank you for that. And then I work through connection. Tell me where you are in the world, and then I try to connect to some point, and then I move to discovery, locating their ambition. For me to really help you and use my years of experience, I got one question to ask you: what are you trying to do? Then I move from there to explaining the value. Then I move from there to inviting an action. Then I move from there to qualifying commitment. Okay. And Carrie actually just heard me do this with a prospect, and she heard me qualify the commitment. Nick Fields, you would have been proud of me. I said, man, if you put a deposit down now to hold the date, okay, are you committed to this? And is there any reason that you wouldn't do it? And if we gave you the dates today, we send it over to you, would you sign it? These are just part of discovery questions, Rob, that people don't do a lot because they're afraid of losing a deal. You can't be afraid of losing a deal by asking hard, direct questions to people. And I want to know, are you committed or not committed to this? And he said he needed to talk to his wife. And I said, look, he said, if I get you on the phone with my wife, I said, your wife's going to love me. Number one. Okay. And if it helps you, happy home, happy husband, happy wife, y'all both are going to be happy. So, I think if you're generating leads, just remember, this is a talk I gave to my team this morning. There is no such thing as a good or bad lead. There are good and bad salespeople, but there are no good or bad leads. I could take people, Mary Murphy, that they say this is a bad lead, and get on the phone with them, and all of a sudden, magically, it's a good lead. So a lot of salespeople say this is a bad lead, right? This is a bad lead when it's really just the salesperson is not that skilled. Okay, it is what it is. They didn't hit that link unless they were interested, right or wrong. Now, that level of interest may be low, may be high. That's up for you to do proper discovery. Okay. And how many of you think we're kind of just doing some pregame stuff before people get on? How many of you think we need to get back to selling, and people need to get back to getting people excited about taking an action, and people need to get back to, it's the craziest thing in the world. What our economy has created over the last several years is what I would call false positive. It's where salespeople have gotten lazy because it's been easy, and they've actually lost the art of and skill of selling. If you're selling real estate, sell the house to me. If you're selling a mortgage, sell the mortgage to me. If you're selling industrial cleaning, sell it to me. Right? Like don't just wait on it to happen. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is they play a lot of defense. Now, granted, they may not know they're playing defense, by the way, until somebody comes along and says, you're playing defense, okay? And we really want you to play offense here. And this is what offense looks like, okay? All right, I got 4 o'clock, guys. So it's Wednesday. It is the second Wednesday of the month, which is when we meet for this What's Next monthly call. And today we're going to be going a little bit deeper into what I would consider 4 core components of building the business, especially as you want to grow. Now, I'm assuming you're in this program because you want your business to grow. Am I right? I'm also assuming that there's probably things about your business that are not operating like you want them to operate. Okay, so let's call that A. And A are obviously the things you are bothered by. And B are the things, is the ideal picture if you woke up tomorrow and the business was self-managing and self-multiplying and you only did what you loved and what you were good at, you'd go, this is a good business. How many of you would say this is a good business? Okay. And you may be going, because I have this talk with people all the time. I just had lunch with one of my best friends who's a top mortgage originator. He did 9 million this past month. Matthew Hyde, in this market, would you say that's pretty good if he did 9 million in a month?
Yeah, it's a very stout month.
Okay. But he said this month sucks. But here's the point. Every conversation we have is about getting to the B. And I keep coming back and telling him, you're not going to get there in this vehicle. Right? If on your best year, you do 200 million, you're going to make $2 million. If you get an override because you're the sales manager in Tennessee, you're going of 500, you're going to make 2.5 million. Now, if you come to me and tell me you want to make 10 million or 5 million, you're not going to get there in this vehicle. No matter how hard you work. Everybody follow that. So if he's 47 years old and he wants to make 10 million a year, then he's got to step back at some point and go, okay, I can keep working as hard as I can. And I'm at my best, I'm going to get to 2.5 million. And a lot of people would say, hey, that's a jackpot getting 2.5 million, but that's not this guy. This guy's like, okay, I figured out how to get to 1.5 million. How do I get to 5 million? And I'm like, it's not happening the way you're currently doing it. It's not happening. Okay. Now, sometimes we need people to say that to us. Like the vehicle is not going to get you there. So a big part I want you guys thinking about before we get into the teaching today is you've got this vehicle and that is your business. And you got to ask yourself, can this vehicle in its current condition get me to whatever numbers I want to get to? And sometimes it takes another person saying to you, it ain't happening. Okay. Now, I know, Christy, you're with EXP, right, Christy Nations? Okay. So I was in Arizona last week doing an event for Curtis Johnson out there, and he has 9,254 people in his downline. So in essence, he's got 9,254 little troopers out there selling real estate every day for him. Okay. Now, that can get you to a better vehicle when you got 9,000 people waking up every day trying to sell something for you.
Yeah, right? I'm under Curtis.
Okay, so there you go.
I'm one of his people.
So you're one of his little troopers.
I'm one of his little troopers.
Yeah. So the point is, what the question becomes, how do you go out and have 9,000 people selling real estate for you? Because look at his vehicle. His vehicle can maybe get him to where he wants to go financially, or it may hit a point. So just some observations. How many of you, by raise of hands, think you're in a vehicle that can actually get you to your financial goals? Raise your hand, please. Okay. Okay. So we see how many of you think you're in a vehicle that cannot get you to your financial goals? And it's okay to admit it. Okay, good. So this is the first step of really A to B. Okay. It's like when I was talking to Dan Gribble last week or two, he and I were talking about, okay, what are some structures to help you move from A to B? And it may be just tweaking this or tweaking that, or it could be partnerships, or it could be something that about how you're doing what you're doing that could get you to the next level, right? Now, here's a distinction I made. I went down to the pool here. I'm in Watercolor, Florida with my family. And, a guy next to me says, are you Coach Burt? I said, yes, which means we're about to have a business discussion. He's like, can I come sit by you for a second? And I said, sure. He said, I follow you on Instagram. And we're sitting there talking about being real estate. And I said, man, one shift that I made in my business is I started going one to many versus one to one. One to many is a better model than one to one, right? And it's like, okay, that's a slight shift in the business model. Okay. So this is just a little bit of shift on how you can go to another level and be thinking like that. So today we're going to be talking about 4 core things, and I'm actually going to be doing some questions with you guys. I just got back from Arizona doing an event with Andy Elliott and Tim Grover. Nick Fields was out there. I don't know if anybody else was out there, but Nick, what were your biggest observations from going out there? Because there's some observations that I had that's relevant to this group, especially on culture, on energy. What were some observations you would share with the group from going out there and spending 3 days out there with all of us?
Well, I can tell you that, the biggest impact we had and where we saw that we needed to really tune in was culture. Um, because when you get that, when you get everybody on the same page, it is easier to start moving in the same direction together. And I've been around Andy's team several times, and they have a culture like none other. But you see that they all want everybody to win, and it just exudes out of every single person you walk by. So it made us realize we need to get back and focus on getting our family together, if you will.
Yeah.
Because as we grow and we're bringing more people in and opening other offices, if one group's going one way and the other group's going the other way, you're never going to get out to where you're trying to go. So that really resonated with us. Of course, there was other things. The whole thing was very impactful. And of course, getting to see Grover for me 2 weeks in a row was pretty awesome. Getting that emotional charge. And of course, you killed it. Absolutely killed it. But for us, it was a culture thing. That's what resonated the most with us. And I see it with other businesses that we partner with, is that nobody has I'm not saying nobody, but the Elliott Group has a culture like none other. And even though their cup of tea isn't for everybody, the same mindset should be.
Yeah. Now, that's a good point, and I want to make a point here. I hear a lot of people who come to me because in 31 years of doing this, coaching professionally, I've never seen a culture like that. It actually was stronger than Cardone's culture when I used to go down to Miami and see Cardone's culture. It was elevated from Cardone's culture. And I thought, this is one of the most unique things in the world. Now, when I travel around the world, here's what people say to me. Andy Elliott, he's too intense. He's yelling, he's screaming, he's cussing, he's whatever. They immediately jump to something they don't like about him. His pants are too tight. I hear that a lot. Tight pants, dude. He yells all the time. You got to remember, you're looking at 1 minute clips of something. See, that's a very short-sighted way to look at something. And to Nick's point, you don't have to be as extreme as them, but every person, my big observation was, you may not want to be as extreme as they are, where they live together, they work out together, the families work there, their kids were there. But we can all take away something. You will never get to big goals without more people being bought into what it is you're doing. Okay? You'll never get to the goals you want to. So as the leader, who is the chief culture builder? See, a lot of people want to outsource this to somebody. It's like, I don't want to deal with this, so you're in charge of the people. And I just think, when I'm around Elliott, I'm like, you know what? I could be a better leader. I could go deeper with my people. I could spend more time coaching and developing. I could spend more time helping them get to their A to B. It always comes back like, man, it reminded me of being in the locker room, Todd Harris, when I was a basketball coach, of that kind of depth and energy toward each other. Okay. Of that kind of belief in each other. Okay. So you got to make up your mind. Now, we're going to get into identity today, because some of you are going to say, this is an excuse I used for a long time, Shauna. I'm too busy coaching everybody else. I don't have enough time for my own team. How many of you guys have ever used that before? Okay, this is part of what I would use as an excuse. Like, we've got all these people for me to coach. I have too many people to coach. Therefore, I really kind of got crumbs for my team. They get a few minutes of my time here and there. That's actually something I told myself for a long time. I'm too busy delivering that I don't have time for my team, and they get a little bit of me, when in essence, to scale and grow, they actually should be the opposite. They should be getting more of my time. Okay. And so you just got to think about this, because then you may say, I don't like people. I hear that a lot. Well, I don't like people. I'm an introvert. I want to stay in my office. I want to do my thing, and somebody else can build the culture. If it's your team, nobody's going to build the culture like you. Okay. There's nobody who knows it better than you do. So think of it as a power source. See, I was coaching an insurance company in St. Louis. It's probably one of the best deals I've ever had. They invested $350,000 for me to be their coach for 1 day a month for me to go to St. Louis and coach their team. And I went there the first time, and I said, how it had five owners. I said, how often do you guys engage with the team? Just out of curiosity. And they said, well, we got managers, and we very seldom even talk to anybody. And I said, okay. I said, when you were really growing this, how engaged were you with the team? And they said, man, we were in the trenches with them. We were in there making calls with them. We were in there doing this with them. And I said, so in essence, you are the power source, and they have disconnected from the source. Is that correct? I said, I want for 90 days, I want you to re-engage with the culture like crazy. I want you to get back to doing things you used to do. I want you to get out on the floor and make calls with them. I want you to have fun with them. And their numbers jumped to a ridiculous level when they re-engage with the business like that. So I look at it like a power source. And if I disconnect from the power source, it's like we're out here trying to figure this out, and we don't know how to do it. If we knew how to do it, we'd already be doing it. So this is an observation that I had. How many of you feel like your culture could use you recharging, getting back into the group at a higher level? Okay. So this is something I really want you to get, because if you are the power source, you are trying to distribute your knowledge, your skills, your desire, and your confidence into your people. Okay, now let me ask a question. Carrie, have you had more access to me in the last month than you have in the first 6 months of working with me? Yes or no?
Yes.
Have you had a bigger sales month?
Yes.
Okay, so Carrie crossed over, basically 100,000 in sales for the first time with our company. Kelly crossed over 100,000. Brittany crossed over 100,000. And you know what the key factor there is? I'm spending more time with them, and they're coachable. So my goal is to get each of them to 200,000. Now do the math. That's 2.4 million per person, per sales rep. That's doing 2.4 million in sales. And if I can get them to 100,000, can I get them to 200,000? But it has to do with their confidence, and it has really to do with me mentoring and coaching and guiding and spending time with and being the chief culture officer. Okay, so that was a big takeaway for me, number one. So, and you may need to reinsert yourself a little bit to the power source. So takeaway number two for me is something that Elliot said right at the very end. And Nick, I think you probably caught this, is he said, some of you are in the friend zone. Some of you got too loose and got in the friend zone. You don't want to pay for anything. You want to kind of do this. And what he said there is, if you come back next week and you pay money to come back next week, I'll be 10 times better next week than I was this week. And what I wrote down in my notes, Mary Murphy, is that we could change our identity in a matter of seconds. See, we can make a decision. I was a bad leader yesterday. I could be a good leader today. You know what? I was a little bit lazy. I used to be a little bit lazy, and now I'm recommitted. So when it comes to identity starts with making a decision that you're going to be better. And you can literally change it like this. The truth is, should you be 10 times better this week than you were last week? Yes or no? Okay. What do you have this week that you didn't have last week?
New information.
Right. You got knowledge, you got new skill, you got desire, and you got confidence. If you are placing yourself in environments, you're watching and observing, and you're going, I got to get better at culture. I got to get better at leadership. I got to get better at selling. Okay. And that's what you're saying. I'm changing my identity. So you guys know I'm coaching this tiny home group, and Chip Hayes is maybe in here with us. And here's what I told the guys the other day, Russell Kirk. I said, look, what you did 2 years ago ain't gonna work today. You need a new identity. The old identity was, I sit and I take orders because people want to buy these things like crazy. And I'm like, you have to get in your brain that old identity is gone. It's dead. There's a new person, and the new person prospects every day, and the new person follows up every day, and the new person is engaged every day, and the new because you're never going to make any money being the old you. Your old confidence has converted to new ignorance. Everybody hear me say that? Your old confidence has now become new ignorance. So we got to work on your identity. Okay. So let me ask this question, Stacy Murphy. Could I make a decision to change my identity? Because we've all had bad habits that we gave up. We recognized that we had a bad habit, and we gave up a bad habit because the habit was destructive. Could I make a decision to be better? Could I sit in that audience and then leave there and never make a commitment and follow that commitment up? Right? Yes. See, I know a lot of people make a lot of decisions. that they don't back the decision up with a commitment. So a decision is only as valuable as you committing to backing that commitment up over and over and over and over again. And in the sports world, Daniel, we call that muscle memory. And muscle memory is where you've done it so many times, it's automatic, baby. It's like you ain't got to think about it. Well, a lot of people don't put the reps in to do that. Okay. So let's talk about 4 core areas that we really want you working on to get to this next level. Because if you've ever heard your net worth is tied up in your self-worth. And you're thinking, man, I'm a level 10 person, but I'm stuck at making level 4 money. There's something about your self-worth that is prohibiting you from getting to that next level. And it could be with the language you're telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't do it, whatever the case may be. So let's start with number 1, identity. And this is something we're teaching all of our students this month. But I want to go a little bit deeper. See, if Todd Harris is having an event this weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina, and if his self-talk is, well, I'll be a good speaker, but I'll never be a great speaker, or I'll be this, but I'll never be that, then his identity starts there. Okay. Identity is, psychologists tell us that the greats have developed an identity that cannot be broken by other people. Somewhere in their life, they made a decision that their confidence was not predicated by what other people think about them, and they cannot be broken by other people. Okay. Now, people always ask me, where did your prey drive come from? I think it had a lot to do with my mother. My mom kind of conditioned me early in life that I could do what I wanted to. I could do what I wanted to. And I texted my mom the other day when I was leaving Arizona, and I said, you do know your son is like the leading authority in the world at activated prey drive, don't you? And she said, of course I do. She said, I knew it the whole time, because that's what I taught you when you were young, right? You don't just do it. You be the best at what you do. There's a standard of excellence that was instilled in me. So what happens if we didn't have that? What happens if we didn't have it as a kid? What happened if it wasn't conditioned in us? What is your true identity? So identity has a lot to do with self-talk. Okay. It would be like Christy saying, I'll be a good EXP agent, but I'll never be, I just don't have what it takes to be what Curtis is with 9,000 people. It's like, I'm not a good recruiter. I'm not that good here. I'm not, I'm good at this, but I'm not good at that. So I'll never be able to do that. That is self-talk. Okay. And until you change that image and identity, then it doesn't change. And there's always a cost many times to this change of behavior. Okay. There's a cost. So write this formula down, and you can use it with people when they're trying to change. And a guy gave me this many years ago. Number 1, change is a function of. So if you do it like a math formula, it's change, F, function of, and in parentheses, I want you to write pain, because you will change when you've had enough pain and you are sick and tired of being sick and tired of something. So change is a function of 1, pain, 2, potential. I can play at a higher level. I know I can play at a higher level. Okay. I can see myself being better than I am today. That is potential. And number 3, practicality. That means you have to see it as feasible to make this change, or you won't do it. Okay. It's like, oh, that'd be too hard. Don't take too much. It'll right. Pain, potential, and practicality has to be greater than the cost of change. So if it was a math formula, pain, potential, practicality greater than the cost of change. If it is less than the cost of change, you do not change, folks. You just stay where you are and complain about it. You just keep getting the great results. So when I'm talking to this guy today, Carrie, do you remember the line where I created tension? If you're selling anything, listen to what I'm about to tell you. What was the line that I used with him that created tension?
That you're not going to be doing this anymore. That was one line that you said, right?
I said, look, man, you want me to coach you one-to-one? I may not even be doing that in January. Number one. But okay, so for me to do it, you're going to take action today. Number two, if we don't do something, we're going to have this talk 1 year from today. Do you want to be in the same position you are 1 year from today? How long are you going to think about it? How long are you going to talk about it? How long are you going to sleep on it? How long are you going to pray about it? Like, I'm here to help you move from A to B. Okay. And the cost of you staying, I got to create tension to get him to take action. Because if not, you just stay where he's at for the next year and complain about it. Okay. So Rob Challenger, you got to say to people, look, how long are you going to stay here and do nothing? What did Jesus say to the person at the pool of Bethesda? 38 years you've been sitting there. When are you going to do something? How long are you going to stay? Do you want to be made well or not? It wasn't a pleasant conversation. It wasn't like, hey, let's have a good friendly conversation. It was like, look, do something. So number one, a lot of people's identity is, I can't do it. I'm not good enough to do it. And you come along and go, you know what? Let's go. Quit talking about it. We're in. We're committing first. Everybody with me? Okay. Now, Stacy, how many insurance agents do you have that really their real problem is their identity? They don't see themselves as making six figures. They don't see themselves as being wealthy. They don't see themselves as playing at the next level. So as their leader, Stacy's got to go in there and say, look, I'm tired of you playing small. It's time for you to get to the big boys in the big girls club, right? And here's exactly how we're going to get you there. Identity. Okay, identity. Now, Dan Gribble, you told me that your daughter had a coach that yelled at her a lot, right? Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
And
She
was
had
it
a few of them.
was it
She
a
had a few
negative?
of them that did that.
Was it a real negative? Did it hurt her confidence?
Absolutely. Yeah, it took her to another level of lower confidence that she's never had.
Okay, so she actually got lower confidence as a result of how the coach communicated with her.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about this. As leaders, we got two options. We can break people's spirits and break people's confidence, or we can build, maintain, and protect their confidence. Okay. And I know that because I've broken people's spirits before by being so hardcore with people. So I can build their confidence, because some people, right? Good leaders should be in the business of building, maintaining, and protecting people's confidence and have enough confidence for them. So number one is identity. How do you see you? How do you see you? Okay. And I got a lot of stories from when I changed my identity. Go back to a time in your life when you did something that shifted your identity. Okay. And a lot of it had to do with your self-talk. Okay. It's like me saying I'll be a good coach, but I'll never do that. Or I'll write good books, but I'll never write Wall Street Journal bestsellers, because those writers, see, I had remedial English in college, guys. I want you to think about that. I had remedial English in college and I've written 18 books. Okay. So my self-talk, Suzanne, was I'm not that good in English because I had remedial English. Okay. Was that a function of I wasn't that good, or my education where I went to high school wasn't that strong? See what I'm saying? Because I went to a small rural school and it just wasn't that good. Teachers weren't that good. And I probably wasn't that good of a student. So my self-talk could be, so for years, 16 books, I'll be a good author, but I'll never be like one of the best authors because I'm not that good of a writer. And there's other people who are better writers than me. See, that's identity. Okay. So number one, identity. Number two, and this is really where we get into the culture, standards. Standards. Okay. Now, what do I mean by this standards? How many of you have standards to work with you? Okay. How many of you think the best way to do this is to just have standards? And say, look, this is what it takes to play here. And if you don't meet these standards, it's not personal. I love you. We can still talk, but you're not going to be able to play here at this level. Okay. So if I ask you today, outline your standards, and is the team on board with those standards? So when I took over the tiny home team, I said, look, number one, we're going to sell 2 tiny homes a month to stay here. We're not going to say it's a bad economy. We're not going to say they're hard to sell. We're not going to go to the sewer cycle with that identity. You're going to sell 2 of those a month to play here. That's it. Okay. And you're going to train every day in the online academy. So you guys have access to my online academy. If I were you, I'd be using it every day to train 15 or 20 minutes every single day. You're going to train in the online academy every day. You're going to prospect 35 to 45 touches a day. You're going to map out your weeks on Sunday, and you're going to sell 2 of these a month, or you're going to find somewhere else to work. Okay. That's the standards here. Because when I got there, guess what we didn't have, Aaron Siegel? Any standards. So it's like, well, we hope you sell them. Well, if you don't, does anything happen to you? Nope. And I come in and I go, first thing we're doing is we're raising the standards around here. Okay. We're raising the standards around here. Stephen Holtze is in this program. I don't know if he's on here today, but he's running a 25 million cash-based business in Houston, Texas, and wellness center. And they have to every day get up. Before you get a job there, you have to be able to cite their 18 principles of what they believe in at their company. You have to be able to give the company motto. They all look good. They model their customer service after Ritz-Carlton. So they say, we're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. They are incredible on the phone. They follow up. The standard there is so high that they actually look for reasons to get rid of people. And when their people are interviewing, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants to work there. And they have to pass a certain test to do pass 8th grade math test. They have to be able to recite this. The standards are incredible. And I just think about one of the things Elliot said, Nick, is that they didn't have a janitor. Dan Schindler, he wouldn't be a good customer of yours because they don't have, because he said our own employees clean the bathrooms, and they clean the training room, and they clean their offices. We don't hire janitors. Our employees clean our building. He had about, I don't know, 40, 50, 60,000 square foot. And I thought, man, how many of y'all have gone into bathrooms at companies and toilet paper's all over the floor and floor's dirty? See, standards. Okay. So one of your assignments are going to be from today's course, what standards are you going to create? And should you have standards for your clients? To work with us, this is what it takes to work with us. You got to show up. Okay. You got to do the work, and you got to, and it ain't gonna work unless you show up and do that. And if you can't do that, then you don't need to play here. Okay. You got to get a little bit more extreme on these things. Okay. So how many of you have clients right now that don't appreciate you, treat you poorly, don't pay their bills, don't speak to you correctly? I want you to get to the point where you are the best and you work with the best. Okay. And if people don't fit those standards, it's not that they all come ready to go, but you have a very high standard to work with people. Okay. When I get on the phone with people, guys, I say this. My team tells me that you're really serious about playing at the next level, and I only get on the phone with serious people. So I'm looking for Navy SEALs here, not baby SEALs. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed to you are about getting better? Because it ain't gonna work if you're not committed to this. And they'll tell me, well, I'm scared, or I'm nervous, or I'm this, or I'm that, or they'll say, and I'm 100% committed. And I go, okay, if you will go deep with this, you will be great. Okay. But you can't dabble. If you dabble, you cannot be great here. Understand? And they say, yeah, I'm in. Okay, good. So number 2, standards. We need to raise those, not lower them. Okay. Now, if you set a standard and people don't reach that standard, what do you do? What do you do? Do you just let them buy with it? Do you say, hey, it's not a big deal? Is there a consequence to it? Do they know there's a consequence to it? Okay. So number 2 is standards. Number 3, language. There is a language of winning and a language of whining. Okay. There's a language of winning and a language of whining. What do you tolerate? How many of you have ever walked up to a big time person and spent a lot of time complaining about something? Anybody ever done that? Why have you not done it to a big time person? You know why? Because they don't tolerate it. Matt Hyde, you'll appreciate this. Supreme Lending passed on me being their coach because the owner said I followed up too hard. And he's a billionaire. And if I could have recorded the message I sent back to him, guys, y'all would have loved it. I said, man, I appreciate. I think it's great that you've been wildly successful, made a bunch of money, but sir, you and I philosophically do not agree with each other. I would want my mortgage originators to follow up like I do if I was running a mortgage company.
Right.
And if you're offended that we actually followed up with your people, then we need to move on down the line because this ain't going to be a good fit for us. Everybody see that? I don't care if you have $150 billion. I have made up my mind that I only want to work with people who want to work with me. Okay. So I just let him know, best of luck to you. Thanks for having me speak. We had a good hour together. I'm going to move on because one of my core principles is I do not work with people who get offended easily. Does everybody see that? If you get your feelings hurt easily, then I'm out. Okay. Because I'm looking for tougher people than that. But here's the good news. That was a good thing because it told me in the beginning that we would not work well with each other. Everybody see that? Would you rather know in the beginning or at the end? Would you rather know in the beginning that's not going to be a good fit? Culture's too soft, man. That culture's too soft for me. I don't need to work with those people. I can't even imagine if I brought Andy Elliott in there, what they would think. You know what I'm saying? I'm low-key compared to Elliott. So when you think about this, is part of your language offended? Do you get offended easily when people follow up with you, when people want to do business with you, when you don't like something that's going a certain way? Do you get offended? That's part of your language. Okay. And I take total responsibility for everything that happens in my company because it's my fault. Okay, it's really my fault. So number 3, there's an internal language and an external language. There's an internal and an external. Okay. And I listen to people's language. I watch people's language, guys. And when I get on the phone with them, Deb, I'm looking for like, okay, listen to the language, listen to the language. Well, the economy's this, and this is this, and this is this, and this is this. And their language is telling me they need to get tougher. They need to get tougher. We're here. There's too many excuses here. Okay. There's too many excuses here. Number 4, accountability. If you do not have mandatory minimum requirements in the company that are non-emotional, then I really believe you need to set these requirements. Okay. And this is a great place to work. It's a great place to play. We have an accountability structure in place to where there are consequences if a person doesn't perform. Okay. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. Where there's no consequence, there's no change of behavior. Where there's no consequence, there's no change of behavior. Sometimes we think, well, there's a natural consequence. And the natural consequence is You know, if they don't prospect, they're going to be broke. If they don't follow up, they're going to be broke. If they get offended easily, they're not going to win. They're fragile. What's the book, Anti-Fragile? They're too fragile to play here. That like there should be natural consequences. But what if I told you from coaching hundreds of people a week that many times there is no accountability for people or consequence to many people who don't perform? There should be a personal consequence when you don't perform at the level you're supposed to, like to play here. In sports, we see it. If you don't perform, sit you on the bench. And if you really want to play, boom, we'll do it. Now, here's what I've seen. If you're running a sales force, you may say, well, I'm going to go out and get some more salespeople. There's going to be more competition for the leads, or we're going to cut the leads off that we're giving you. And then magically, people start selling. It's like, oh yeah, I got 4 appointments tomorrow and I'm selling 2 deals and I'm doing this. And I'm like, well, what's been happening this whole time until there was a consequence? Until you thought there was a consequence, there was no change of behavior. Okay. And that is an activator of prey drive. Fear of loss is an activator of prey drive. Competition is an activator of prey drive. Environment is an activator of prey drive. Exposure is an activator of prey drive. Okay. These are all activators of prey drive that boom, flip the switch in a person. And they're like, I'm in, let's go. So let's stop right here and let's talk about where you think you can get better in these areas. Now, I was coaching this one gentleman in the mortgage business once who was doing about 100 to 200 million, and he didn't hit his sales numbers. And I saw that he put his expensive car up for sale on Facebook. And so I'm scrolling through Facebook one day and I see this really expensive car. And he says, I'm going to be selling this car. It's my dream car. I worked really hard to get it and I'm going to be selling it. And I messaged him. I said, man, why are you selling the car? Here's what he said. I didn't hit my sales numbers. And I told myself I didn't deserve the car if I didn't get the numbers. And I'm actually, it pains me, coach, to sell that car, but it is a consequence to my behavior. And I thought, man, it's a lot of self-discipline, right, Kyle Joyner? Now, what if I told you mental subtraction is where you tell the brain, if you don't hit your numbers, you got to give something up that you love. And that actually activates the prey drive to go into battle. Does everybody see that? How many of you have something that if you gave it up, it'd sting a little bit? Okay. So I actually do this to trick myself. Here's what I do, man. If I don't hit my sales numbers, I got to sell this house in Florida. And I love when I'm in Florida. I'm happy when I'm in Florida. Okay. I ride my golf cart to my office in Florida, folks. It's the best thing in the world. Now, here's my point. I actually tell myself, you better hit them numbers or that house in Florida will be gone. And you know what that helps me do, Daniel? Pick up the phone and call people. Okay. It's a mental trick. It's called mental subtraction is what psychologists call it. Okay. Mary Murphy, you're up first. Which of these 4 areas are you going to tighten up?
How do I make that go? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just thinking about the mental subtraction. We do something, and I don't enforce it well enough, but we call it the 15th of the month protocol.
Yep.
And I've always done that. You may have heard of it before, but for me, it was always if I wasn't halfway at my goals by the 15th of the month, well, then I would never get all the way to my goals the second half, right? Because if I'm not halfway there at the first half, I'm there, what I'm doing isn't working. But so my mental subtraction or my consequence was always I'd have to do open houses on Saturday and Sunday until I caught up.
Yep.
And I really hate open houses. I crush them, but I hate them. I don't want to do them. I definitely don't want to do them on Saturday and Sunday, but it just works because I hit my goals by the 15th of the month because I knew that I didn't want to do open houses all weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was kind of what I thought. But when I'm listening to you, what I really need to work on isn't just enforcing the standards.
Yep.
It's the accountability. I think it's hard when you're self-accountable, when you can force yourself to do something. It's so, I don't, maybe this isn't true. Maybe this is an excuse, but it feels harder to hold other people accountable.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. And I feel like I don't want to.
Now,
like,
let me address that real quick. If Carrie comes to me and says, look, I want to make 240,000 a year and I want a 10% commission. And every time she doesn't play to the standard to make 240,000 a year selling for me, I should say, look, I'm not a professional babysitter. I got 3 kids of my own. Carrie, you told me you wanted to do 240,000. Now your actions are not lining up with what you're telling me you want to do. You don't prospect enough. You don't follow up enough. Now, do you want me, Carrie, do you want me to hold you accountable to this? Or do you want me to just let you keep making the amount of money you're currently making? Does everybody see that?
Mhm.
And I try to sell Carrie on the pros do this. They train every day. They model the behavior of big time people. If you want to be a pro and make the pro money, these are the habits you got to have. I'm not scolding her. I'm not mad at her. I talked to her like, hey, you're a pro. You came to me because you want to help a lot of people, make a lot of money. And I'm glad you're here. But here's the deal. I'm watching you and you're not skilled enough to make $250,000 a year. So let's work on your skill. Now, here's what I'm going to do for you, Carrie. I'm going to put you on the phone with me when I close big deals. So you can hear me, so you can hear my language. You can hear my identity. That's my role. My role is to help her get to 250. Yes or no? Because she gets to 250, she sold $2.5 million, folks. So my point is my role is to help her. So, but I'm doing her, I could say this to your point, Mary, Carrie, I'm doing you a disjustice because I'm being a terrible leader for you right now. I'm not showing you how to close people. You're trying to learn from me, but I don't have any time for you because I'm too busy being fabulous. See where I'm going?
But if her actions are showing you that she may be saying she wants to make 250, but really she's comfortable making 80. So even if she keeps saying that she wants to make 250, well, then after you have that conversation, when she shows back up and she still didn't push herself. She's still not ready to make the 250 because she's not showing you that. And she might still say it, but they're just not showing up that way.
And that's where you got to call her out on it. Now, I decided to go do this workout with Elliot and them on Friday night when I was there. It's 2 hours. It's only 16 minutes long. How many of you think you could make it through a 16-minute workout? So I'm sitting over there going, I work out, I lift weights. It's 16 minutes, for God's sakes. I can do this. 2 minutes on the row machine, 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of mountain climbers, 2 minutes of thrusters, 2 minutes of burpees. Okay, it looks easy until you actually do it with about 50 people yelling at you and cameras on you. And this is when it ain't no fun to be Coach Burke because everybody's standing over me going, great drive. And I'm like, just freaking quit using my own stuff against me, for God's sakes. Now, but here's the point. It was 16 minutes of pure hell. And when I got done with that workout, I was like, here's what I told myself. I have given up on my cardio. I'm not pushing on my cardio as hard as I used to because I've been focused on lifting weights. I need to get back to the cardio and the weight training because that exposed me. Does everybody see that? There was a consequence to me not doing something. And I'm like, thank you. And Elliot pulled me over and he reached in. He said, this is the next level for you, brother. This is the next level for you. Okay. And he's right. Like, it didn't hurt my feelings. I'm like, thank you. You're right. I owe you. So Mary, that's where that accountability comes in, is if you want to get to this next level, I'm gonna have a real hard conversation with you. And Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, you need to believe them. See, that person has an identity problem. They see themselves as an $80,000 producer. See where I'm going?
Mm-hmm. So do you part ways or do you allow them to just reduce? What if she wants to lower her goal? What if she's like, you know what? I realize that I don't need to make that much.
We don't work with people here who lower their goals. We work with people who raise them. Hey, there's a place across the street called the Complacency Factory. It's got a lot of people over there. Go and get your membership over there. Okay? Because at the Greatness Factory, we want to be pushed. We want that accountability. Okay? You know, when I do stuff with Grover, this is what I love about Grover, who wrote Relentless. He's like, man, every time you and I are together, we just get better because I push you and you push me. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's the way it should be. Healthy competition. Okay. All right. Where can we tighten this thing up? Todd, you got this big event on Saturday. Okay. He put his money where his mouth is and he's putting it on this Saturday. And I'm going to Charlotte to help him. So where can you tighten this thing up, Todd?
I think where I'm at with our team here is, I think it's a piece of it's accountability, but I think before I can say that, I need to spend more time with them because I have moved away from that. And so their skills have slacked off, and we just ran some numbers the other day and we can see exactly where that loss happened. So I need to get back in with the team and get their skills back up. And then at the same time, let them know these are the standards and we have to live by that.
Yeah. And if they don't reach the standards, if nobody calls them out, They
Right.
just keep doing it. Everybody understands it, right? Okay, so this is very important. If there's no consequence to the behavior, there's no change of behavior. So there's internal language and standards, and there's external. And this is what you're trying to build here. Okay. All right, Dan Schindler, where are you thinking based on these 4 things? Did you get that
Yeah.
big contract you were working on?
I think the accountability piece is definitely number 1 on my list right now. I think we've set the standard, the identity piece, but the accountability is definitely a struggle for me because I'm always trying to balance between micromanaging people and having the expectation that they're adults, and I don't want to be an adult babysitter. But when I don't see the standard being met, then I get super frustrated because I'm like, man, we need to keep driving. The standard's there, the scope is there. Why aren't we making it happen? And so that's where I get frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen to these standards that I have, guys, to his point. We touch 35 to 45 people a day, every day. And I don't mean 35 text messages because that's a lazy person's way of doing it. Okay. Because you can't sell high ticketed things through text messages. Okay. So I'm not saying 35 text messages and you're done. Some people say I want 10 good conversations. I like 35 to 45 touches a day between phone calls, text messages, video text, voice text. We're going to go 7 to 15 touches in the follow-up. That's a standard until we bring a person to a close. If they get offended by it, they're out. They're out if they get offended by the follow-up. Okay. Because I just don't believe. I think everybody should follow up until you help people make a decision. Okay. That's a personal belief I have. All right. Here's a standard. By 7 p.m. on Sunday night, everybody turns in what they're doing for the week to hit their goals. Okay. Here's a standard. We're going to track the phone calls and the outbound effort and the closing ratios. That way we can coach people where they're struggling. Okay. And we're going to meet every day at 9 a.m. We're going to check back in at 12:30. We're going to check in again at 4:30 at end of business. Now, why are we doing that? This is what I tell them. I'm not big brothering you. I promise. Great teams, they did a study. And what if I told you the teams that touched the most in the NBA won the most? What if I told you the teams that touched the least lost the most? Now, right? So you're not high-fiving. It's like encouraging each other all day long. Boom. So we're checking back in to go, hey, I got a big win. We signed a contract. I got a deal. I'm working on this. It's self-accountability with the unit. Everybody see that? And you may look at that and go, man, it's a little extreme. I actually believe that's how you play at a high level, man. Right? It's like this is how we play. We hold each other accountable. And it shouldn't always come from the leader to the team. It should be the team holding each other accountable. Okay, everybody see that? So 7 p.m. Sunday night, we use Slack. Everybody messages in by 7 p.m. This is who I'm working this week. The language is the selling system, hit list, farm club, red zone, top 25. Meet every morning at 9 a.m. What's the purpose of the 9 a.m. meeting? Anybody know? Anybody ever heard me say? It's not to teach everything you know. It's to activate the prey drive to go into battle. The purpose of the morning meeting is to activate the prey drive in the unit. It's not to teach everything you know. Okay. 12:30 touch point. That's like a high five. Boom. 4:30. Boom. Okay. Let's do it again. All right. Kyle Joyner, where are we going to get better here out of these areas?
One thing that stuck out to me was the standards with clients. That one immediately popped to mind, and
Yeah,
as I thought of another. So that's what sticks out to me.
How many of you guys believe that all conflict starts when two people don't believe the same things? So the conflict you have with clients is because you don't believe the same thing. I believe in showing up, growing up, and delivering. We don't whine, we don't complain, we don't make excuses. I believe it's the learner's responsibility to extract maximum value from the teacher. So see, I'm clear in my beliefs. If somebody else believes something different, that's going to create conflict. Okay. So you want to sign on clients that you enjoy working with, right? Dan, you and I are really talking about this, finding those right clients for you that appreciate your skill set and value that skill set and pay for that skill set is really what you're looking for. And you may look for 4 or 5 Blue Marlins, and those are your level 10 opportunities. Okay. They don't whine, they don't complain, they don't make excuses. Okay. All right. Who else has got an area on here today that they want to talk about?
I got something to coach.
Okay.
So motivating a team right now, right? So mortgage business, bumpy, real estate's bumpy,
Yeah.
so like me and a buddy were me and another manager going back and forth. All right, what can we do? So we said, let's go old school. Let's throw $25 an application out there to where, like back in the old days, back when I was in the sweatshop smiling and dialing and stuff, they would do like little raffles and money. So I sent out a group text. All my team knows about, hey, you get an application, you get $25. You call a realtor, you meet and greet, and you execute on that meeting. Go to the meeting. Basically, I'm going to buy their lunch, or buy their coffee break. Meet with the new realtor, somebody that you're not doing business with. As of today, it closes. It started yesterday, and then today, 7, 8 applications, and maybe a couple of appointments. I mean, I'm just like baffled by that. I threw money out, and I'm thinking, man, I'm going to be out probably $1,000. Everybody's gonna go smiling and getting applications, getting to meet realtors. So I'm trying to think, okay, what can I do to motivate these LOs? LOs are commission based, so they have to motivate themselves. But every morning I'll send out your community deal if it's something that I can feel like it's relevant, that they can understand, right? Me and Julie listen to it every day. Just what give me some other ideas.
Well, the money can be a motivator for certain people.
Right.
So
there's different motives. It's like the 7 love, like the
right.
4 love languages of work.
Yeah. So we had the last day of a month a few months ago, and I said I'll pay $500 to the person that sells the most today, and it spurred sale. It spurred a lot of competition. So we may have done I don't know 100,000 that day, but it really did kind of tap into the competitive spirit of a few people, and they're like, man, no, I'm winning. No, I'm winning. No, I'm winning. So it can work in certain scenarios, but that's not the only motivator. So you may see 3 or 4 people that take it and go, you know what, I'm going to do some meetings and get this. But you may see some people go, whatever.
Yeah.
So recognition could be a motivator. Competition could be a motivator. Fear of loss could be a motivator. For example, in our other situation, the owner cut the leads off. He's like, I'm paying for the leads. I'm cutting them off for everybody. And somehow magically, then everybody's got appointments now. And I think it like signaled to the team, like, man, we could be losing all of our leads.
Yeah.
I need to start showing up. Then magically contracts started to get signed.
Yeah.
It's like, so I told him maybe that worked because fear of loss is an activator of prey drive. Right? If I told Carrie I'm cutting the leads off, good luck. Just go out there and figure it out on your own. And she's like, oh, no, I need those leads to make that money I'm trying to make. Then I may say, look, if I don't see the effort that it needs to take, I'm taking these leads away because I'm the one buying them. And she may go, no, please don't do that. Because I really value those leads. So what I'm telling you as a coach, Matthew, I want you to put your coaching hat on for a second. And it's like you got these players, and this one's motivated by fear of loss, and this one's motivated by competition, and this one's motivated by culture. And this was motivated by embarrassment, which is an activator of prey drive. Not like I embarrass people, but every day, here's what I'll do, Matthew. I'll say, everybody put their sales numbers in this text message right now, where you're at. We had 3 people, 80,000, 90,000, 100,000. We had one person at 997, 1,000, and one person at 497, and 3 other people's at 80 to 90,000. Now, how do you think those people felt?
Yeah.
When they had to text their results to the team member, to me. So I'll do all these things, Matthew, during the day. Right now, text your sales numbers in right now where you're at in this text message so everybody can see them. And it's like, oh my God, I've sold $1,000 and she sold $89,000. Like this is embarrassing. So what I do, if you go through Flip the Switch, and you look at those activators of that prey drive, what you need to start thinking is you want in your culture to have all 5 of them going. Have all 5, use all 5 of them. And what I'm trying to do is find that button that flips that switch inside that person.
Yeah,
And
you gotta, that's something I've learned, you know, I started managing in the when I was mid-20s, I'm 42. So I used to do blanket management, you know, yell and scream at everybody, you know, and then now it's like, okay, I got to touch this person a certain way. I've got to give this guy a different push, or I got to motivate this person. So it's, you know, you got to manage individually, you know.
And they all crave attention. They all want attention, and that's just part of it. And what they want is not the attention from you. They want your knowledge and skill set.
Yeah.
And if I don't spend any time with you, I can't absorb what's in your brain. And that's really what I really want, is I want your knowledge, your skill, and your desire and your confidence. But I can't get it because I don't have access to you, or I get a few minutes with you here and there. And so that's why I'm telling you, some of you may need to reinsert yourself back into the culture more. And, you know, and just, this is one thing I really admire about Elliot. He loves his team, man, and they love him. Nick and Johnny Shanks was out there. Like it was impressive how much those dudes will fight for each other. I mean, it was impressive. It's like they are going into battle with each other's back, no holds barred, together. And a lot of that has to do with Andy and his people and how and what he does for them and all those type things. And, you know, it's very extreme. Like I said, it's not for everybody. It's a very extreme, but even without being that extreme, we could all ratchet it up a few notches. You know, that's really what I'm trying to tell you there. Dr. Shanks, what did you take away from out there that really spoke with you based on what we talked about today that you could share with the group? I see you talking, but I can't hear you yet.
Yeah, how's that?
There you go.
Yeah, so so the big thing for me was the leadership piece, the day one. You know, and you know, for me it was just a time to level up as a leader with my company and to communicate a little better, right? So, you know, I'm kind of an intense personality, and you know, and I think Andy is too, and for him to be more of a servant leader and to see him in that moment being vulnerable, you know, his power comes in his vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I think that's where all of our power can come from. So, you know, then, and I use that to come back to the team and to really you know, give them a feeling that, you know, I'm really being vulnerable in this situation. You know, how can we get better? How can we win? You know, what are the things, what are the action items that we need to take care of to really take this to the next level? So, you know, the leadership piece was fantastic because his brand is a rocket right now. You know, his brand is a rocket, and, you know, he's attracting some really level 10 people. And so I really thought highly of his leadership and his teamwork.
That's a good word. Now, here's the point. If you've not been the leader that you want to be, and you go take today's course, because what part of what's next for you, everybody that's in this program, is building something bigger. And whether it be a self-managing company or a self-multiplying company, everybody on here is trying to build something. What's your next move is. What I would suggest you do is you go back and you say, man, you know what? I've done a poor job of staying connected with everybody. It's my fault. I take full responsibility for it. And I'd like to reinsert myself into the group, be a better leader. Okay. Now, some of you are hardcore and you got hardcore personalities like I do. It's probably hard for you to tell people they do a good job, you know, but you can do it in your way. Okay. Whatever way is good for you, but you can do it in your way of saying, man, hey, thank you for showing up every day and getting this thing across the finish line. Okay. Now, some of you are coming into town for November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, which will be 2 days called Package Your Purpose. Okay. Package Your Purpose is 2 days with me working on finding, packaging, marketing, and monetizing your X factor. Okay. So if you have a desire to speak, coach, train, lead, you feel like there's more monetizable opportunity for you through your intellectual property, your know-how, your method. That's what Package Your Purpose is. Okay. So it's a brand new boot camp. We've never done this boot camp before. So it's a brand new product we put out. It's included in your package. We are selling it to the marketplace at $3,000 to $5,000. So it's included in the What's Next package, the first and second. And then your What's Next day is November 3rd. Okay. So you guys would have access to all three of those dates. If you want to come in and spend all three with us, I do know we've already got 44 people that will be in the boot camp of Package Your Purpose. It's a very hot topic. And so we'll probably have a full room of vibrant people. And I'd love to see you in person to come and spend 2 or 3 days with me. And I would tell you, from doing 3 days out in Arizona, I know it seems like a lot, but man, you just get so much depth out of spending more time with people and being in person with people. So make sure you see Carrie Robinson, and she can make sure that you're enrolled for that, because it's all part of your package, and really take advantage of that package. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay. So your assignment's pretty easy from today, guys. I gave you 4 core things. Some of you need to do some identity work. It's an inside job. Okay. Some of you need to raise the standards or implement some standards. Some of you need to work on your language of winning, not a language of whining. Some people need to work on the accountability. Okay. So pick an area that you want to go to work in. And then we'll be doing the hot seat here in a few weeks, where we do the hot seat, where we coach people through that, and we'll be focusing on going deeper here. Okay. Any questions before we get out of here? Okay. Great session, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. I owe you. Love you guys. Good session today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.